Hello everyone. Hi, Mark.
Hello, how are you?
Fine. Happy to be with you on live today.
Likewise, I feel like I've got the better deal because I'm in an earlier time zone, so I can still have my coffee. But
Oh, yeah, it's evening for me. So, welcome to everyone, wherever you are. We're distributed all over the world at Microsoft, and I'm guessing it's the same for our viewers. So, let's get started. So, I'm Julien Dubois. I work at Microsoft. I worked a long time ago at Spring Source, so the company that created Spring. And that's a good thing because today we're going to speak both about Azure, so Microsoft, where I work today, and Spring, so where I used to work before. And Mark, I think you've got quite a similar story.
yeah, a little bit more recent experience, I guess, on the Spring team, and then a little more recent arrival at Microsoft. I'm always timing is a tough thing, but yeah, I came from Pivotal and VMware to Microsoft, so yeah, very happy to continue working with Spring and Azure, and just more toys, more tools, just a better time.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I wrote a book on the Spring framework, but you wrote a book on Spring Boot. So yeah, you're more advanced than me. I mean, more modern than me.
No, I think it actually pairs very well, as you might imagine. So yeah, it's a fun tag team.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about deploying Spring microservices to Azure, and with a specific Azure service which is called Azure Spring Cloud. And for that, as we're on Learn TV, we're going to follow a Learn module. So it's a Learn module I have written some time ago. Before that Learn module, there was a training. The training is still available. So today we'll do the Learn module. But if you have more time, if you want to go deeper, there's a full training, which is also available. I will give you the link. When we'll start coding. Do we get started?
Sure. I do want to suggest that folks scan the QR code that's on your screen there. And please do feel free to, and please, we encourage you to follow along and to do the exercises with us. I'm going to be going through some slides kind of first to give you kind of the general overview, and then handing off to Julian. Of course, we're going to be talking back and forth throughout the whole thing. But I do want to say hi to everyone who's already said hi. I'm seeing that kind of out of the corner of my eye over here. But glad to have you along for the ride. And with that, let's introduce our moderator. Does Brian have a mic? Did anyone give Brian a mic, or do we just keep him quiet in the background? Do you know?
I don't think he's got a mic.
Yeah, well, that's tough call, Brian. But thanks for being here. So we'll go right ahead since Brian can't say anything. So everything that you see here today is, well, pretty much everything. I think maybe even more than what we're going to be covering today. I don't know.
Roughly. No, today we'll do a few jokes, so there will be more today.
That's true. That's true. We've got, I like to claim that I'm the master of bad jokes or bad dad jokes, but Julian will probably throw in at least a couple to try to compete. I don't know. I set the bar pretty low, but yeah. So again, here's the link, the aka.ms link to the Learn Live workshop, if you will. And then of course we'll have QR codes throughout that also take you to other supplementary materials throughout, like the Spring Cloud Gateway site or Spring Cloud Config Server and things like that. So with that, I guess let's just cover the learning objectives. What do you think? Should we start with maybe creating a new Azure Spring Cloud cluster?
Yeah, well, let's get coding if that's fine with everyone. Let's get coding,
right?
We've got 90 minutes, so we've got lots of time. So again, please do that with us. Well, supposedly, so the module is written as being done in 38 minutes. Honestly, it depends on how fast you code and how fast the cluster is created and so on. But we've got 90 minutes, so really it's going to be super cool. You have time to follow what we do and do the same. And if you just worried a little bit about the money, because of course when you create a cluster and so on, it spends some money. Honestly, you're not going to spend more than $1 for the whole thing, because we create a cluster, we create one database. It's not much, and we will delete everything after. So 90 minutes. So it's very short. So really, don't be afraid. Go with us, and well, let's do it. Yeah, let's start coding. So I'm going on the first web page. So and let's go here to create an Azure Spring Cloud instance. So
And if I could interrupt here just for a moment, if you're, I don't imagine there are a lot of folks who are brand new to Azure and Spring Cloud who are with us today, but if there are, that's great. Welcome. But just to give you a little bit of background, Spring Cloud is a set of libraries and constructs that allow you to build Spring Boot applications that talk to each other much more easily than they might otherwise. It takes a lot of the headaches and hassles off your plate and offloads them to the platform, if you will, the libraries and such not when you're talking Spring Cloud, and the platform itself when you're talking Azure Spring Cloud. So it's kind of like taking all the headaches and hassles that you would find that you may have had to embrace or considered embracing with a raw build it yourself, do it DIY Kubernetes install, but it makes that a much smoother path to deploy your Spring Boot applications to and have them immediately find each other and work well with each other and communicate with each other. So
yeah, you're totally right. I should have also introduced a bit more about Azure Spring Cloud, because I mean, why are we doing this? We're doing this to show people the power of Azure Spring Cloud. And so if you're a Spring Boot developer, so Spring Boot is super easy to use. We'll code a simple demo. It's very easy to have a web app running with Spring Boot and connect to a database and so on. But then the complexities, difficulties when you go to production, especially if you got microservices, because you need to configure them, you need them to find each other, you need to scale them. And all of this is very complicated if you want to do it by yourself. You can do it, for example, on Kubernetes. So you take, for example, Azure, you've got Azure Kubernetes Service. You can totally run Spring Boot on Azure Kubernetes Service. But then you quickly see that it's kind of difficult. By the way, I spent the weekend helping a friend doing that. And I can tell you, we suffered a lot. We really suffered. And especially for the databases. There's lots of issues if you want to host everything on Kubernetes. Here's the idea with Azure. So if you want, I mean, with Azure, you can do many things. If you want to do everything by yourself, you can totally do that on Azure, of course. But then we've got some specific services for managing your databases or managing your Spring Boot applications, exactly what we're going to do today. And you will see it's much easier to do. It's still using Kubernetes under the hood, by the way. Azure Spring Cloud uses Kubernetes. It's a Kubernetes service, but you don't see Kubernetes. Everything runs for you. And if you want to, I don't know, scale, have monitoring, everything is already set up for you. So what we're going to do today is, in fact, very simple. I'm just going to click, and everything will work. And what is interesting is that it will be ready for production. It's not just a toy for playing here and doing demos. It's something which a lot of companies are already using in production. We've got lots of customers, and those people use the exact same service in production, and you will see how easy it is to have your Spring Boot microservices running in production thanks to Azure Spring Cloud, and you won't have all the headaches of setting everything up yourself, which you can do if you want. But I would say it's not necessarily my recommendation. It really depends on your company, but it wouldn't be my recommendation most of the time. Let's put it that way. So let's get started. So first thing we need to do is set up the Azure CLI. So on Azure, you can create your resources either using the Azure portal, where you click everywhere, or the Azure CLI. The CLI is usually easier when you want to automate things. And then there are more complex options like Terraform or Bicep, which are also supported by Azure Spring Cloud, but we will not talk about those today because it's too big. But there are, let's say, many ways to deploy applications to Azure, from the portal, which is a graphical user interface, to fully automated tools like Terraform or Bicep. And here with the Azure CLI, we're like in the middle ground. It's a little bit automated, but still, let's say visual, and you will learn things, because if we were using Terraform here, we'll just tell you apply your Terraform configuration and it would just work. So it wouldn't be really fun to learn anything. So let's get started. So I guess you've already installed the Azure CLI. If you didn't, one nice trick is that you can go to shell.azure.com, and then you can have a full Azure CLI running inside your Azure subscription, and you can run everything from here. It would be maybe a little bit more complicated because we want to code stuff and so on. But that's an easy way to have the latest Azure CLI running without installing anything. Well, not going to do that, but if we were, here is my CLI, and here I've got the Azure CLI. Oh, sorry, Azure CLI running. Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to use my own. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. That's one thing I wanted to share. I'm going to put that in the chat. So that's the training from Azure Spring Cloud. So I should have said that earlier. So for Azure Spring Cloud, we've got this full training, which is, I would say, like half a day if you want to do everything and learn everything. And so I'm going to put that in the chat, or in the private chat. So it's going to be shared on screen. And what we're going to do now is this, which is the Learn module, which is a simplified version. You will still do a lot, but not half a day, but let's say half an hour or 1 hour. So I've got the Azure CLI installed. So let me go to my machine. Azure version should be running, hopefully. Yes. I'm already logged in. If you want to be sure about if you are logged in and your version, you can do Azure account show, and you will see your current Azure account. And well, you can see I'm logged in using my Microsoft account. And one thing you will need to do to use Azure Spring Cloud is to add this extension. So it's already installed on mine. So if I do it, yeah, it's already installed. You need to do that. Azure Spring Cloud is a new service, so it's not in the default Azure CLI binary yet. It will be, but currently you need to install it manually like this. And once it's installed, it's the same thing. But you just need to do that in order to have the specific Azure CLI Spring Cloud commands that I'm going to use in a minute. And now I've got the Azure CLI installed. Well, let's get started with the Azure Spring Cloud instance. We're going to need two resources here. So the first one is what we call a resource group. So in Azure, that's where you put, when you create a project, you're going to have different resources, like an Azure Spring Cloud cluster, but maybe a database, maybe a Redis cache. And in order to group them in a logical space, you're going to use for that a resource group. So that resource group doesn't need to be unique. So I'm going to call it Spring Cloud Workshop. You should probably do the same. It should just be unique in your own subscription. So as long as you don't run this twice, it's going to be fine. And the second variable I'm going to create is this one. It's the name of my Azure Spring Cloud cluster. This one, however, and that's the trick, this one should be unique for all of Azure. So I cannot have the same as Mark, and you cannot have the same as me. So don't type the same thing as me. Usually, I use my username in it, so I know it's mine, and I put something like TMP, so I know I can delete it afterwards without.
And one gotcha that you, I think you actually do call this out in the documentation, but it has to be between 4 and 32 characters. So if you're like me and you tend to get very verbose, again, we both came from the Spring side, so you're used to very long names. If you get a little carried away with that, it will bark at you and tell you can't do that, because 32 is the max limit. So as long as you keep it under 32, you're good.
Yeah, that's very complicated for Spring people. If you give that to Jürgen Ohler, is going to call it, abstract Spring cluster Kubernetes, and blah blah blah.
Exactly. Well, I'm guilty.
No, but it's often an issue on Azure, because what I like to do, and by the way, that's a recommendation on Azure. You should have some prefixes. Like this should have been prefixed like AZ something, I think. No, sorry, like it's Spring Cloud, like SC something. I forgot the prefix. That's like official prefixes for all resources, and then you like to put like the name of your project, and then like some string like it's my dev environment, and blah 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 blah, and then it doesn't work because it's too big. And Azure Spring Cloud isn't that bad, but there are also some services which have shorter names. And so with them, you always have that kind of issues. Anyway, you need to have a unique name. This should be unique. We'll see. And so I created my 2 environment variables. And now let's have a look here. Second thing we need to do. So now I've got my environment variables. I need to create my resource group where I will work. So this one is in East US. I'm not going to create it in East US because I live in Europe. So I will put West Europe. You should put a data center closer to where you live. well, for a test, it's not that important, but for real production, it should be interesting to have a look at this. So this creates just the resource groups. This one is pretty quick. And the second thing is I'm going to create my Azure Spring Cloud cluster with this command, Azure Spring Cloud create. We can see here we've got the SKU. So let me just click because that can take a few minutes. And let's talk about that SKU. So the SKU is a type of the Spring Cloud cluster we're going to create. We've got 3 types. There's a basic one, which is cheaper, but which is not very powerful. Good for development. Maybe we should have used this, by the way, today, because it should be enough for what we are doing, and it's cheaper. So that's the basic tier. There's a standard tier, which I'm using right now, which is good for production. And now we've got the new enterprise tier with lots of new features. It was just announced. I don't remember when. Very recently, like a few months ago. And with that new tier, well, you've got like own service for building your app, for deploying them, and so on. Well, we'll cover those when we will show the different services that we're going to use. So currently we have like the normal service, and if I go to my Azure portal here, I'm going to have a look at my resource group, so the one we created, and inside it, well, hopefully there should be our where is that? Spring Cloud Workshop. We have our cluster, which is going to be created here. Here it is. It's not created yet. It's probably still running because it takes some time. But it's starting to appear here in my portal. On the portal, you can do everything that I'm doing with the CLI. It's more graphical. It can be easier when you start. Then if you want to automate, like what I'm doing now, it's honestly, the CLI is much better. Do we move on? Yeah, well, let's move on while it takes some time to complete. And oh yeah, because there's one trick. Sorry, I forgot that one. There is this one trick, which is usually good. I'm saying usually because it's not always good. We're going to set up some defaults on our CLI, easy configure defaults. So I'm going to tell my CLI that my default resource group is the one we just created, and my default Spring Cloud cluster is the one we just created also. Thanks to that, we will not have to always, tell here is my resource group and here is my cluster name. So our command line will be shorter, which is better for the demo we're going to do. That's a good thing. Then I'm saying it's usually a good thing, but not always. Of course, if you work on different projects at the same time, well, you're going to change those all the time. It's much better to pass them in parameter in that case. And also, I've had a few, let's say, issues with them. Like, you created the resource group today, and then you forgot about this. You come back to Azure like in 2 months, and you forgot you've got a default resource group. And then you will be very surprised that by default you have a resource group that does not exist because you will have deleted it. So sometimes it's a bit surprising for some people, but yeah, it's probably a good thing to do when you start a demo like this one. Put some defaults for your resource group and your cluster name, so you don't need to set them all the time. I cannot set them yet because the service is still creating. I will do that in a minute. Let's go to the check your knowledge.
Yeah, let me jump in here with the slides, because the slides, I don't know which one is the better presentation of this, to be honest with you. They both look so good. But yeah, it's knowledge check time. And then I want to actually throw a question out, and we'll see what we get. So
I hope I said the right things for the votes to help people.
So. I think so. We'll find out. If not, well, we'll fix it. True or false, everyone? You need to use the Azure CLI, the command line interface, to create an Azure Spring Cloud cluster. Do you need to? Do you have to? Are there options? Or is this the one true way? We'll give everyone just a few seconds to respond.
I'm trying to see the votes.
And if you haven't scanned the QR code, that's how you can vote. Or the URL at the bottom, of course. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we should ask folks, do they love the command line, or do they love the command line? I guess that's the question. And if they don't love the command line, what's wrong with it? No, I'm just kidding. What would you prefer to see? Maybe something graphical? I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
I'm seeing the comment, and so some people have got the right answers, of course. Do I click on it? Oh no, sorry, it's the slides which are being shown, not my screen.
Okay,
Well,
I'll go
I
ahead
can
and
click on it
advance.
on mine.
There we go. So, Julian, you wanna field this? Is that the only way, or is there another way or other ways?
Yeah, no. So you can use the portal. That's what I explained, but I didn't show it. But you can totally create your resource using the portal. So it's false because you don't need to use the Azure CLI. You can also use the portal. And then if you push it a little bit, if you use something like Terraform, so Terraform underneath uses the Azure CLI. So it's not true that Terraform is like an alternative to the Azure CLI because it's still the Azure CLI underneath. But I mean, most people would say that Terraform or Bicep are alternatives. But yeah, so basically the answer is false. You don't need to use the CLI. You can use the portal, the web interface. And
Yeah.
there's a semi-true answer saying you can also use Bicep or Terraform also.
Now that said, if you did say true, my heart is with you, because I think most of us love to eventually, or either initially or eventually, script things. So of course you will probably use the CLI almost exclusively at that point. But no, absolutely, we support many ways to get there from here. So let me go ahead and go to the next question. True or false, the name of an Azure Spring Cloud cluster should be unique across all of Azure. Now, we'll give you a few minutes on this, but you might remember we talked about length of the name that we use and why it has to be at least more than just a very short amount of characters and
if you're a Spring developer, you have no problem having a unique name.
And why it's important to throw, maybe like Julian mentioned, his ID in there. So just a few hints, maybe just to think about. Is it important that it's unique across all of Azure? I don't know. If you haven't already gone there, go to place your vote.
Well, we have quite a number of incorrect votes. I'm surprised. So it's harder than I expected. Yeah.
Well, I guess let's go ahead and address this. It does have to be unique across all of Azure, but that's why we typically say throw in a unique identifier like your user ID, because that kind of makes it easier. The tough part, and this is probably why folks went wrong with this, the tough part is keeping it short enough to keep within 32 characters. So you have to be very judicious with what you put in there, but throwing your ID in the middle of that, or anywhere in that, helps with the uniqueness of that. So
to be honest, on many services, what I do is I write some random numbers, which are meaningless. It's not so bad for security also because people can guess your cluster name because it's still a bit public. So and on Azure you can tag your resources. So in the tags I put the real name that I want.
Yes, and I actually in my scripts I do the same thing. I create a unique random number generator, and that throws it in, and that way it's all good. The only thing that gets you with that, just a little like side trail on this, is that if you're troubleshooting things and you're developing those scripts in the first place, you may have to stop the script and then remember or look up what your random seed was to begin with. So
yeah,
just be aware of that. It's a wonderful thing when you're all the way through deploying to production. If you're trying to work out in the middle, you can't start and stop because it'll generate a new one unless you take that into account. So again, that's why we script, right? To give us more power and flexibility. We just have to be careful with that sometimes. So I do want to, before we launch into the next section, there was a question earlier, and this is kind of, it's not to do with the creation of the cluster, but it's something that I wanted to address before we kind of got on to the next thing and forgot about it. Will there be a Kafka log-based autoscaler? And to my knowledge, we base scaling on a number of different criteria, but they're all platform, JVM, throughput type of criteria. So they're metrics based. So Julian, do you have any idea, or Brian, if we have something that takes into account or uses inputs from Kafka logs?
For me, by default, so in the UI, well, we will show the UI afterwards. It's only on not only, it's mostly on HTTP requests, that kind of thing. As it's connected with Azure Monitor, I'm guessing you can indeed have something else like Kafka, but I haven't seen people doing that with Azure Spring Cloud. I have seen people doing something similar with, so it's another service from Azure, which is Azure Container Apps, because Azure Container Apps scales with something called KEDA, and with KEDA you can have something like this. But I haven't seen that with Azure Spring Cloud. It won't be out of the box, probably. I need to check, but at least, yeah, wouldn't be the default, clearly. Have a look at Azure Container Apps, by the way, if you are also looking at, let's say, other Azure services. It's not for microservice. It's not Spring-oriented like what we're doing here, but you can still run your Azure, your Spring Boot microservices there if you want to. Maybe a little bit more stuff to do because it's not automatic, but yeah.
Okay.
Let's go back to coding. By the way,
before we do, there's actually one other question. I want to at least touch on the quick question about, will we talk about horizontally scaling microservices and obtaining consistency? We will touch on the vertical and horizontal scaling. We don't really go much into that with this particular session, but again, we're taking notes so we can come back and maybe talk more about this at a later date.
So that's the learn module, so it's very short, so we're not going to do everything, of course, otherwise it would take 2 days. In the workshop, I think it's more complete, and then we need to check, because I know, so somebody else in our team, Rory Prady, did quite a number of videos showing auto scaling with Azure Spring Cloud, and so it's going much faster than what we're doing here. So have a look at his videos. So Rory Prady in our team. We've got a Java YouTube channel. Maybe you can put the link on the Java YouTube channel. Hang on, let me see. YouTube Java on Azure, it's called. And of course, I'm not going to. I'm going to find it. I'm going to put it in the chat. Oh no, sorry, Power Apps. Oh, that's not the right one. This one, introduction to monitoring. Oh, this one should be quite good. Hang on. I'm going to put this one because introduction to monitoring on Azure with Java with both Rory and Trask. So those are the right people. So it's probably what you want or close to what you want. I'm going to put that in the chat. And if you have a look, we've got, oh no, it's still not on our, we've got our own YouTube channel, and of course I can't find it easily because it's not, sorry, here it is. This is good. Yeah, this of course, I'm not using the same laptop as when I'm working. So this is the introduction to our channel, and the channel is, oh sorry, it's here. Here's the channel. I'm going to put it also in the chat.
And by the way, just as an aside, I always remind people that it seems like we've got a lot of time here today. It's 90 minutes, which sounds luxurious, but usually it winds up we're always kind of, there's never enough time for all the things you want to discuss. But please do reach out to Julian and me. Our Twitter handles are in our name, after our names there. And if you think of something later, if you didn't get a full answer that you wanted, ping us and we'll happily connect you with resources, or we'll talk about it more, because as you might imagine, we both love to talk. So,
oh yeah. Well, yeah, and we've got a lot of resources. We've been working on this for a few years now. So and so in our team with 6 people. So if you multiply, so 6 people working for several years on a subject, we've got lots of things to share. Of course.
Now, if you don't mind, why don't you let me go ahead and just step through the next section here in the slides, and then I'll hand it back to you, and then you can.
Okay, yeah. I'll let you do the slides, and then let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I spent a lot of time on these slides, but I didn't. I mean, I had help, so I had a lot of help. Anyway, but but I do want to show this, because I think this is a super important thing. If you want to go to the links, this is how to get there directly, right? If you go to Learn Live Spring Cloud Config under the aka.ms, if you scan the QR code, it can take you. I think this actually a QR code will take you to Spring Cloud Config server docs that Pivotal/VMware provide. And then, of course, putting those two together, you can step through the demo much more readily, I think, and research things after the fact. And I do want to mention, because I think we kind of glossed over this earlier, that Azure Spring Cloud is actually, it was from the beginning a concept that was created and nurtured and grown by both Pivotal and Microsoft. And of course, when Pivotal was acquired or merged into VMware, this is still very much fully supported by both entities. So this is kind of the best of all worlds. You get the Spring team, the Microsoft team working together to provide your best possible platform for your Spring Boot microservices. So it gives you the ability. I often say, as developers, we take on unintentional complexity, right? Because we solve problems. When we see a roadblock, we figure out a way to solve it. We figure out a way to get around it or go over it. And if we don't have the tools, we demand the tools, we get them, we fix it, when we deploy to production. But many times we embrace and take on more complexity than we want, especially long term. If we have to do that for every single application, every single iteration of an application that we deploy, that gets really tedious and takes a lot of time from delivering real business value to our users. Azure Spring Cloud takes care of a lot of that for you, while still, as Julian mentioned, being based on Kubernetes and giving you the full power of Kubernetes, but taking a lot of the headaches off your plate. Again, you can get to everything, you can tweak everything, but you don't have to. It's sort of like Spring. There are opinions, right? So anyway, so Spring Cloud Config Server, what does that do for you? Well, it allows you to externalize your properties, your settings, right? So you can store your application sensitive parameters like database passwords, et cetera, and not store them externally and not check them into your application code, because probably every one of us has at some point checked in code that has sensitive information in it. Of course, I've never done that. I've just heard about it. But anyway, oh, sigh. But it happens, right? If you, and of course you have options, but typically the most used option is a Git repository, because Git is used for storing text and maintaining audit logs and versioning and things like that. So Git repositories are kind of a natural fit for those properties. And again, it says in the next point, I kind of got ahead of myself, I guess. You can tag them, roll them back. It makes it just super simple to manage dev, test, production, any environment you have. It just makes it a breeze. And it provides a centralized place to store all configuration data for all your services. So to create a Git repository for storing the application, you create a new private repo, and you don't have to do it private repo, but we're talking with an eye on, about things with an eye on production. So of course you typically want it to be a private repository. And that's pretty much the same thing. I'm going to kind of skip over that. But we're going to create a Git repository, and Julian will step you through this, that stores application configuration. And within your repos, you can you typically use YAML. It's not a requirement, but you typically use YAML, and you have a section for all applications and then a section for each individual type of application. Here, we're just creating a message for all applications to consume and use. And you can, of course, Azure Spring Cloud can access Git repositories that are public, that are secured by SSH, or that are secured using HTTP basic authentication. So you have options, right? You can make them public, but again, if you have sensitive information, you probably aren't going to. And you can have a couple different options for how to secure them. To do that, you create a GitHub personal token, and then you just name it anything you want. I typically, and follow Julian's lead with Azure Spring Cloud Config Server, so I can see exactly what it is, and then give it repo permissions. And then from there, you go to Azure Spring Cloud, you configure the config server settings under your Azure Spring Cloud instance, and you point it to the repo, you point it to the branch name, you provided the branch name, you choose HTTP basic for authentication, you provide your GitHub login name and the personal access token for that particular repo, you apply it, you validate it, and then you're off to the races. Again, just a tip, remember you typically will use the Git repo link, which if you just double check, it has .git at the end, or you can use the fully qualified URI, and that's fine too, but I typically go with the Git repo link. And again, validating that will tell you if you have everything properly in there. So we've now created the private configuration repository. We've now connected Azure Spring Cloud to that config repo. And I'm going to hand it back to Julian to kind of step through each of these, and we'll come back to the knowledge check and see how well everyone's following along.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. So we're going to do that for real. But first, let me just finish where we left, before you did the slides. So I was configuring a default resource group and a default Spring Cloud cluster. So I'm just configuring the defaults. So that's done. And then before I could move on, I needed to check my knowledge. So I'm just checking that's what we said earlier. So that should be the good answer. So that's good. And now I can go to the Spring Cloud config server. So let's go there. So Spring Cloud config server, as you said, it's one of the main services, one of the main reasons why people use Spring and Azure Spring Cloud, because it's a very good way to store your parameters in a centralized location, in a secure location, and you can so tag them and branch them. Like I mean, you are with Git. You should use a private repository for that. As Mark said, you don't want everybody to have a look at your secrets or your configuration. That being said, here, so here we're explaining everything, but what I'm going to do to go faster, because time is running, I'm going to use a public one. So I'm going to use something simpler than what is written here, just to go faster. So what we want to do is have a specific configuration, which is very simple, this one. That's a YAML configuration for Spring. It's a Spring Boot YAML configuration. And in that configuration, we've got just a message saying, oh, I'm configured by Azure Spring Cloud. And in Spring Boot, if you read that message, well, it's not appearing by random. It's because you are correctly connected to Azure Spring Cloud. And Azure Spring Cloud is correctly configured to get to the Git repository. So I've got one which is here. So that it's a public one. Again, don't do that. Oh, well, you can, but you shouldn't. This is mine. And in it, I've got an application.yaml with what we just talked about. So it's a very simple one. Of course, I could put here like my database, password, and username, but as it's public, it's not a very good example. And so I want to use this inside Azure Spring Cloud. And I'm going to do what is written here, but I'm going to go directly to the portal just to show you. Again, you can do everything either with a CLI or with a portal. That was a previous question, by the way. So we started with the CLI. Now we're using the portal. The idea to show you how both work also. And if I go to the portal here on my Azure Spring Cloud cluster, I've got a menu with config server. And config server, so it's looking for a URI. So that's the URI, as Mark said, of my Git repo. So I'm going to copy paste it. It's looking for, so what they call it a label. It's the name of your branch. And here, so as it's a bit old, and that's really good, I've got an issue. By default, it's using the master branch, which you shouldn't use anymore. You should call it main. And so by default, here it's looking for main, and I need to tell it my branch is master. So that's what we would do also if you have like a dev branch, a production branch, pre-prod, that kind of thing. And here you can have a look if you've got multiple configuration. You can put them in directories. And here is the authentication part. So again, you can have it public. Don't do this. Don't do like me. You can have HTTP basic, in the learn module, and with SSH with a private key.
Julien, would you go ahead and just very quickly click on the HTTP basic, say that 3 times fast, and just show them the parameters where they would.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
So if you use Git, like in the learn module, it's your Git username. So for me, it would be G Dubois. And then the token, well, you need to click around to get the token, and you pass the token here. And it works. It's basically the same. It's just a little bit longer to do. And as time is running, I'm going the easy way. But honestly, you don't learn much more. It's like, just click it and the same thing. Once you've done this, you need to validate. So that's also what Mark explained. First, we validate that everything works fine. And if everything is fine, then you can apply it with the button next to validate. Usually it's quite fast to validate because it's a very simple file. Here it is. And I apply. And so in a few seconds, I will have this this configuration, which will be applied. So all my Spring Boot services will get that configuration, and we will be able, when we deploy one, to have a look at that YAML configuration and see that it's working. So I think we can move on with the check your knowledge page. Do you want to take it, Mark, with the slides?
Sure. So let's, the only reason I say that, because I like the look of the other one as well, but this allows them to vote more easily because I have the QR code right there and the URL. So on Azure Spring Cloud, which security mechanisms does the Spring Cloud config server support? And of course, only HTTP basic authentication, or B, public, secured by SSH, or secured using HTTP basic authentication. C is secured by SSH or secured using HTTP basic, or only publicly available unsecured Git repos. So what does everyone think?
Hang on, while people think, I see there's a nice question. Questions asking, can the Spring Cloud config server integrate with Azure Key Vault? So right here, no, but that's not a total no. So first of all, I know there is some project to integrate them because I've worked with them. They contacted me. So not now, but maybe in the future. And otherwise, Azure Spring Cloud, Azure Key Vault is a great way to store your secrets. We've got also lots of videos talking about Key Vault. It's one of my favorite topics on Azure. However, Key Vault is really good for secrets, so like your password. And here the goal is mostly to store your configuration, which is something much bigger than the secret. And also here, basically you want to tag, branch. So it's not really the same, let's say, workflow than the password. So if you want something ideal here, it's like you would put your configuration inside Azure Spring Cloud for everything except its password, and you would put your password in Azure Key Vault. Then that means 2 services. So maybe it's easier to have everything in Azure Spring Cloud because it's still quite secured, and it's easier to have everything at the same place. Then maybe one possible change to what we just discussed here is to have Key Vault only for your secrets, because it's only good. It's very good for that, but only good for that. And all your configuration in Azure Spring Cloud. And maybe at some point there will be like a bridge between them. I don't know where they are, but I was with those people, I don't know, a few months ago, and it's probably not that complicated to do. And so, because we've got Java APIs for both, so it's honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that this arrived, because it's probably easy to do, and a lot of people are going to ask for this.
Well, let's go back and answer or see how everyone fared, I should say, on this answer. Actually, there are 3 options here. So public, secured by SSH, or secured using HTTP basic. Boy, I just can't spit that out today, but you get the idea. You have options. So let's do another question to see if everyone's still with us here. Using using Spring Cloud Config is a great solution as, well, it uses Git, so your configuration data can be tagged or rolled back. Configuration is stored in a specific Git repository, which can be secured separately. It provides a centralized place to store all your config data for all your microservices. It allows storing sensitive parameters like a database password outside of your app, or all of the above, one or more. What do you think? Give everyone a minute here to pull it up and take the poll. That gets tricky, right? I mean, there's always, anytime there's an all the above, there's got to be a trick question in there, right? There's got to be a trick answer.
Not on
maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, so I did the questions, but we've got some guidelines on Microsoft Learn, and the goal is not to trick people.
Right. Well, and it is. I mean, Spring Cloud Config is a very powerful, concept, right? So, I mean, maybe they all work. Maybe. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's find out. And indeed, they all work. That's all. That's great. So let's, Julien, you want to take us back to go ahead and clear and then we'll come back and launch into the next part?
Yeah, let's go back. So I put those. Let's check the answers. Yes, it's correct. Let's move on.
Yes. All right.
And let's go to the core of the business. Let's build a Spring Boot microservice. So, like, now there's going to be some coding.
All right. Do you want me to launch back into the slides, or you want to take it from here? How do you?
No. Let's go. I'm
all right.
I'm warm. We talked too much. Let's.
All right. Here, I'll tag.
A little less conversation, a little more action.
Oh my gosh, throwback! I love the reference. I understood that reference. To quote another reference.
Yeah, you're all like me, isn't it?
Yes. In a good way, right? Like fine wine. I don't know. Anyway.
So we've got a cluster, but the cluster is empty. So first thing we're going to do is create a new application in our cluster. So I'm going to copy paste this quickly because it takes a few minutes to create. So this is going to create a new instance inside my cluster. So if we go to the portal here, we've got no apps, and there's a new app which is arriving. It's already there, but it is getting created. Here it is, and that instance will be empty. And what we're going to do is put some code in it, and our application will also connect to a database. So I'm going to go quickly through that because the instance is not created yet. We'll create the database just afterwards. And let's go to the microservice to the Spring Boot app first, and then I will go back and forth between the code and creating the resources because it takes some time to create the resources. So I want to create a new project, so I'm going to go. Sorry, let me put that bigger so everybody sees. I'm going to go to my desktop, create a new folder to work on, and I'm going to call also start.spring.io to create a new application using Spring Boot. By the way, which version? Oh, I need to update that. There was a CVA today. You should use 2.6.5. I will do a PR just after that. There was a CVA today on Spring, and you should not use that version. So a new version that was released a couple of days ago, which is 2.6.5, which doesn't have the CVA. So don't do like me. Use the latest version. Well, hang on. Let me do it here.
Well, in fairness, that was just released this morning, so or mentioned. The CV was just mentioned this morning, I should say, announced.
Yeah. So, and by the way, you should not copy paste blindly. You can just change a version like I just did. And so what I did here on start.spring.io, we selected Spring Web. We're going to do a web app. I selected MySQL because we're going to connect to a database. I selected Spring Data GPA because to connect to database, we want to use Hibernate and GPA. And because we're doing a microservice, we're using Eureka. So it's a discovery client, for your microservices to find each other inside our cluster. And the config client to get the configuration from the config server, which is configured in the previous part. So lots of, I would say, usual Spring Boot dependencies, but everything is going to be set up easily in production. That's the magic of Azure Spring Cloud. I'm guessing my app is created now. Let me have a look. Yeah, my application is created. So let me just go back here and let me move up a little bit. The application is created in the cluster. We need a MySQL database. So I'm going to copy paste this code here to create the database. So it's a MySQL database. We could do also PostgreSQL and so on. It's the same on Azure. And this takes also some time. So I'm going to run it in the background and move on. By the way, password validation. My password is too simple.
Well, while you address that, I do want to throw out here just
I don't give a password. That's wrong. Hang on. Well, let me force the password. That's wrong. Oh, interesting. Okay, I will add a password here, so it's going to be admin user. Oh yeah, because I have it in an environment variable. I'm going to put something here, but I'm going to hide my screen so you don't all see my password. Otherwise, it's not good for me. So I will, and yeah, I'll let Mark talk while I put the password hidden somewhere.
I do want to point out, because if you're new to how Azure Spring Cloud and Azure works, I do want to point out that when Julien talks about creating and deploying an application to Azure Spring Cloud, it's kind of a two-step dance, right? You create the app construct, and that's where the app create comes in. And then you deploy the actual artifact, the deployable artifact, what we typically refer to as an application, to Azure under that construct. So we'll create the application construct, and then we deploy it, typically for us, a Spring Boot jar file to that. And then the Azure Spring Cloud makes connections and makes and executes that for you. So I hope that wasn't. I always try to find a better way to explain that, and I never do a better job at that. But you have to have that app construct so you can tie together services like Julien is getting ready to show with MySQL, so that your application can utilize MySQL for the database behind, and then you deploy the actual jar file that will run and do that. So that's why you see apt create and apt deploy.
So yeah, my MySQL database is getting created. So well, we'll need to wait a bit, and sorry to hide it because I don't want to show my password to everyone. Instead of having just admin user here, I'm having still admin user and admin password, and then I type a password. Normally, if you don't put one, it will prompt. Well, it will create one for you. So normally you don't need to put one, but I have one in my environment variable, so that's what I guess gives the error. Otherwise, just put admin password and type something safe here. So well, let's wait a bit for this. We'll see what we're doing just afterwards here with the database, and let's get coding. So the application is created. Yes, sorry. It's as I've hidden everything. So my app was created here. If we go to to-do service, I've got a simple application created with stardust.io, and I'm going to open it up with IntelliJ, and we're going to code that application. So that application connects to a database, and it's a simple web app that's going to fetch data from the database and show it to you. So it's a good way to show what you can do with Spring Boot on Azure Spring Cloud. So the application is currently empty. Well, I can run it. Let's just wait for my IDE to import everything. It's going to find that Spring Boot app, and I will be able to run it. But well, currently it's an empty app, so it won't be very interesting. And then let's start adding some code in it. Well, I see my laptop is not very. No, sorry, here it is. So I can run it. It's going to be empty at the moment, and then we're going to improve it by following the rest of the module. So I just want to be sure everything runs. Oh yeah, sorry. No, it doesn't run, but for a very good reason. It doesn't run because I selected the config server, and I don't have a config server at the moment. So that will run in production, because in production we've got a config server. Well, maybe I mean so. Here Spring Boot is very good. It tells you what to do in order to make it run. In fact, I'm not going to fix it. You will see it runs in production, but it doesn't run here, which is interesting, in fact. And let me just go back to my database, because my database was created. Hang on, let me just put a DB password. Sorry, unavailable. So you didn't see my password. It's hidden, but it's just above. I created my database. Let me just go back up a little bit, because we still need to do a few things with the database. We need to inside the database create. We created a server, and inside we need to have a database. So this is how you do it with the Azure CLI, AZMySQL DB create. By the way, we've got a new service which is called Flexible DB, Flexible MySQL. Same thing for PostgreSQL. We've got Flexible PostgreSQL. They are much better than those. You can still use MySQL and PostgreSQL, or I mean the classical one on Azure, but the new flexible options are much better, much faster, cheaper. Everything is better. So I mean, those are still the default services, but really have a look at the flexible options. They are much better. So first thing, so I'm going to create my database, and once the database is created, I will need to open up its firewall. So by default on Azure, well, everything will be secured behind the firewall, but we want our application server to connect to the firewall. There are different ways to do this. This is the easiest way, probably not the best way, in my opinion. What we're going to do is we open up the firewall for all of Azure. That's why we start IP address 000 and end IP address 0000. Those are specific names for Azure. We're telling that MySQL, that any resource inside Azure can access your MySQL server. Well, can go through the firewall, not access it fully, which is okay for what we're doing. I mean, it's going to work, but I don't find it super secured. So there are better ways, using, like, for example, a virtual network, which is, again, beyond the scope of what we're going to do today. But I mean, it works, and there are better ways to do it. So I'm just going to copy paste this, and now my firewall will be open, and my application will be able to access my database. While it runs, let's go back to our Spring Boot application. So that application, what we wanted to do is connect to the database and do stuff in the database. So first thing we do is create a GPA entity, so Java Persistent API. So let me copy that and do that with you. I'm not going to copy paste it blindly, because I want to explain exactly what we're doing. So I create a new class, which is a simple entity, GPA entity. Well, let me copy that and show you exactly what we have in it. So our entity here has got a few things. It's got an ID, which is going to be automatically generated by the database. It's got a description. It's got a Boolean saying done or not. It's a to-do list. So I mean, we describe it. You need to, buy some milk. Is it done or not? And then you can add as many things as you want. Of course, it's just a simple app. And then we've got the usual getters and setters in Java. We can add, like equals, hash code, and so on if we want to. It goes beyond, of course, that simple example. But so we've got our entity. So this is going to connect to my database. Second thing we're going to do, that's very typical Spring thing. We're going to create a repository, so a GPA repository, Spring Data GPA. So that repository is going to be responsible for reading, updating, deleting, creating those to-dos. So let me just copy paste here and explain here. So as we're using Spring Data GPA, everything is done for us. So we just extend the GPA repository from Spring, here it is, and we say, okay, you're going to use a to-do, and your ID is going to be a long. That's our ID here. It's a long, and that's enough for Spring Data GPA to understand everything and be able to create, delete, update everything on your to-dos. So no code to do, and that's wonderful thanks to Spring Boot and Spring Data. So very easy. And now we've got everything to access our database and put stuff in our database. Let's go through the web part. So we're going to do a controller. Let me create the class. Same thing. Let's copy paste this and have a look at what we created. So that's a REST controller from Spring Boot. We're doing dependency injection here. So we inject the repository inside the controller. So the controller has got access to the repository. Very classical Spring way of doing things, with a constructor injection now, which is the new way to do it. It hasn't always been like that, I'm doing a few tricks here when we construct but because it's only a sample app, of course, we do that in real life. What we do when we initialize the database, we add some our application. Sorry, when we create the application, we add a few items inside the database. So I'm just saying, okay, here are 3 new to-dos, and please to-do repository save all of them. So when my app starts, I'm going to have those 3 things here. Maybe I can add one like oh, sorry. Oh, let's just put a hello mark. Oh, that's weird. Hang on, my keyboard is not working correctly. Mark. Let's put hello mark. And then, we've got a mapping here, so just on slash. So when you access the root of our application, it's going to find all the to do. So it's going to list you first item, hello mark, and third item. So very easy way to see that everything works, that the application runs, it's connected to the database, the firewall is open, that we did everything correctly, hopefully. Let's continue a little bit. There is one more thing we need to do in our application.properties file. So you remember we are using we're using Spring Cloud config to configure our application, but we can also have our own application properties file. It's going to merge them, in fact. So here we're going to have properties that come from a local file and come from Spring Cloud config. And the configuration we want is this thing. So let me just open the file. So here we're only just telling Hibernate, please, when the application starts, please create everything and then drop everything. So we've always got a new empty database. So don't do that in production. Don't drop your databases in production. I did it once while I was a trainee. Very, very bad experience. My manager was very unhappy. Don't do like me. But then for developing here, that's really nice, of course. A good way to have an empty database each time and play, which is what we're doing today. And what we want to do is deploy your app. So again, the app, the instance is available here. If we go to the portal, if I refresh, it's ready, but it's empty at the moment. And I'm going to use the Azure CLI to take my Spring Boot app, package it, deploy it, and then it should automatically. It's a little bit slow on the portal here. Not need to wait. I know it's appeared. No, not yet. There was a problem fetching your data. Oh, that's going to be some interesting demo effect for us today. Let me go to my app. cd to-do service. Here it is. And let me run my my command. So, oh, sorry. The command was supposed to be run from here. So what I'm going to do here is, so I'm going to call the Azure CLI Spring Cloud extension and tell it, please deploy that application, which is so-called to-do service. The service is our cluster name. The resource group is the resource group we gave. And you're going to run the jar files that we're going to build, we're going to build right now with Maven. So we build the app, we ask Azure Spring Cloud to run it, and basically it's all good. Is it going to take like, I don't know, a couple of minutes to do everything? Let's have a look at the end. Oh, maybe we can refresh just to check. Yeah, I know it's working. I don't know why. We had a small issue. So it's running, but at the moment the to-do service is empty. We have no app there. So well, I'm not even going to go there. There's like nothing. There's an empty page. And well, in a few minutes, there will be something real arriving there. So let's have a look. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, in the interest of time, I was wondering if we could maybe do the knowledge check now and then come back to test it afterward.
You know what? Yeah, because time is running. I'm not even going to test this because I'm so sure of myself. Because what we're going to do next, we're going to do the gateway, and the gateway will connect to the microservice.
You didn't just say that, did you?
Yeah, because I'm sure it will work, because that's Azure Spring Cloud, it's always work. So
we will test in production. All right.
We will test in production. Cool. Yeah, yeah. Let's go.
Right.
I know it's going to work.
I know, and in accordance with Julian's lead here, I'm going to just go ahead and, instead of having votes, if you want to vote, that's fine, but I'm going to just cover this quickly so we can get back and keep going forward, because the material is just too important to delay on. To deploy a Spring Boot microservice to Azure Spring Cloud, what do you need to change in your application? Well, I mean, you could change a lot of stuff, but do you need to change any of it? Well, no, you don't need to change any of it.
I didn't do anything. My app was a normal Spring Boot app. Nothing. Didn't do anything.
So we want to, again, I think people gravitate towards Spring and Spring Boot because it has opinions and it gives developers superpowers, and we want to extend those opinions to the platform as well. So same thing, how can you access your microservice once it's deployed? And Julian is going to show us that. But again, we know it'll work, so we don't even have to. We just know that there is a specific security endpoint. Julian mentioned it very briefly there. It's a test endpoint where you can test and make sure it works. But we're going to go ahead and skip forward to the gateway so that way we can test it in conjunction with the gateway itself. And the gateway feeds, it makes the connection for you to the outside world. The reason we consider a gateway is because once you build out a stable of microservices, you don't expose hundreds of those and hundreds of instances of each potentially to the outside world. You funnel access through an area, through a construct that you can control, that you can manage security, that you can do rate limiting and things like that, quality of service metrics and whatnot. So it allows you to have better control of your microservice deployment. So Julian, back to you.
Thank you. And
Thanks.
I just realized I messed up.
Oh no.
No, nothing bad. I forgot to do one step. In my to-do service, I forgot to bind my application to the database. So if we want our application to see the database.
True.
So I'm in the cluster, I'm in my to-do service application, and here we've got a line called service bindings. And here I can bind my application to the database. So there are different ways to do that. You can put your database configuration in Azure Spring Cloud in Key Vault. Here's a specific binding for this. I'm just saying we've got lots of options. This is a very good one. And so I'm going to call it, I don't know, to-do database. This is scanning automatically my resource group. So it's going to be easy. It's my SQL app in my resource group. Database name is to-do. Username, I forgot what I put. It's somewhere above.
Spring, right?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Wait, that's...
yeah, it fails to start probably because of that, by the way. Sorry. User, hang on. Is that Spring? Hang on.
That's the admin user. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I think, MySQL, it's Spring at your database username.
That was it.
That's always that. So with flexible server, by the way, you don't have this. It's much better, but with classical MySQL is this. So it's at, so database name is to-do, sorry. do's, and my password, I've hidden it. So let me keep hiding it.
And actually, I think you need to double check in your the JSON coming back, because I don't think to-dos is sufficient. I think you have the full database, the fully, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, fully
Oh,
qualified name, if I remember right.
hang on. Did I went too fast on this? Hang on. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Sure.
What
That
did
we
I
set up
do?
earlier as Spring Cloud name dash MySQL. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Oh,
There we go.
sorry. Hang on. Let me cheat. So, as I've got it as an environment variable, let me just echo this. Oh, this is. Hang on. Hello, Azure IP. Did we do that? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm surprised by this name. I'm very surprised by this name.
And then
Hang
the
on.
password we get back via JSON as well, which if you go to your output.
No, it's MySQL. Hang on. I copy pasted something wrong. It's just MySQL. I don't know where this comes from. I messed up something. Okay. This is it. That's what's in the LAN module. And let me just copy paste the password. Where is my password? Yeah.
It should report it back via JSON when you create it.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. And let me.
Oh, I keep forgetting you have stuff off screen. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean.
Oh yes. There we go.
I'm supposed to show stuff that are. There's the. This is so stupid. Oh, sorry. My passport manager won't let me do this. Okay,
Oh.
it's working. Should be good now. I got rid of the password manager, so now the database should be good. And if I go, oh sorry, that's not the right screen. It is this one. Let me clear it again because there's a password in it. And if I deploy again, so to deploy, it was my command was here. Let's deploy again. This time it should work. We'll see. Otherwise, well, we would have had quite some fun today. So let's go to the gateway because we need to move on because time is running. So second thing we want to do is a gateway. So the gateway, this one is going to be public. It's going to secure all our microservices. And in order to find the microservices, it will need to connect to a Eureka server. We didn't really talk about the Eureka server because there's one in Azure Spring Cloud. Not now. There's one in Azure Spring Cloud, but it's configured for us. So we didn't do anything. It's we don't see it. Yeah, basically you see it here. You can see registration status. So currently there's no app. I mean, it was a packing app, so it's not registered yet. If everything works, when I deploy my app, it should register automatically into Eureka, and well, then my gateway will be able to find my microservice. We'll see if that works. So let's create the gateway. Let's do the same thing as we just did before. So for that, I'm going to go to my console and call again start.spring.io with the 2.6.5 release. And I'm telling it here, please create a Spring Cloud gateway for me using Eureka and the config client. And this has created for me a new gateway here. Let's open it up with IntelliJ. Oh, sorry, IntelliJ is already open. Let me open a new project with IntelliJ. Desktop, gateway, here it is, a new window. And let's have a look at what we need to do. We basically just need to configure it, to configure Spring Cloud Gateway. Spring Cloud Gateway has got a few configuration options here. Basically, what we're telling it here is, well, have a look at our beans and, at our microservices and look at them automatically. And then, well, just open the routes to those microservices. So all I need to do is put those configuration here. And then, same as we did before, I create first the application on Azure Spring Cloud. So we're going to have a second application arriving here. We've got, at the moment, only to do service, we're going to have the gateway arriving. It failed again. Not looking good. We'll see. I'm still continuing. We'll see. So we're going to have the gateway arriving here, and once the gateway arrives, well, we need to deploy it using, again, so we build it with Maven, and we use the AZCLI to deploy it using the name of the app, the name of the cluster, and the name of the resource group. So let me just do this, and oh, it's not ready yet. Well, while it's running, hang on, let me just have a look. It says that it failed.
I was going to say, worst case, we can always pull up the logs. This proves, by the way, everyone, that this is live. This is not very cleverly done recordings. This is purely live.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Okay. Well,
and by the way, everybody knows, if you've ever done a presentation, that you can do it 10 times in a row perfectly, and then as soon as it's live, then it breaks for no good reason. So
yeah. Oh, well, I'm not too stressed. Well, let's deploy the gateway, and once the gateway is deployed, let's have a look at the logs, and we'll see what happened in the logs. There's probably nothing too big. Let's maybe yeah, next session is distributed tracing. Yeah, so after that we need to have everything deployed. So we're a bit stuck here. Yeah, let's go to the
well, let's go ahead and pull up the logs on the to-do service if you want in another tab.
Yeah, because I need to deploy first my gateway. So I'm deploying the gateway, and well, let's see if the gateway works, because if the gateway works, it's already a good sign that our cluster works.
Sure.
So if I refresh here, so the gateway is here.
Yep.
The gateway is here. It's probably not running yet, or it's super fast. Yeah. No, this has a packing app at the moment, and now we're deploying the jar file. So this can take, I don't know, this should take, I don't know, a couple of minutes, and should work. Otherwise, our cluster is in a very, very bad shape, and there's something worse. And yeah, otherwise, yeah, I don't want to do that, but yeah, let's create hang on, my resource group was, come on, this, and my cluster name was, sorry, where is that? Oh, use my database. Here it is. Let me go to desktop, MP, and let's go to our app. And yeah, let's have a look at the logs first. Well, maybe is that fine? Oh,
hey, look at that.
Okay, hang on. Yeah, let's have a look at this first. So this one worked. So good sign. Our cluster isn't that bad. So if I go to the gateway is here. It's public. So if I curl, well, it's going to be empty because there's nothing here. But I can curl it, and well, that's something. That's an empty page. It's 404. It's normal. And if we want to access our microservice, so the microservice by default will have its name. The root will be open to the microservice with its name in capital letter. So I think it was to do service. So this should fail because we saw it didn't deploy. Yeah, it failed because it didn't deploy. But yeah, I mean, we see how everything should work. And now, hang on, let me close this. Well, no, let me just keep this one just in case. Well, let's try to deploy it again. Well, to have a look at the logs first. Hang on, I want just to check here if I go to my app is here. Come on. I went too fast. Continue. So I've got, where is that? Here is where we deploy. So instead of deploying, let me have a look at the logs first. Spring app, I think it's log like this. This should give me the logs of my app, and we're going to see what was wrong. Instead of deploying, I'm asking for the log. Oh, it says that Hibernate is not happy. Okay, Hibernate isn't happy. And as you see with Spring, we need a very big screen because otherwise we can't see anything. So
those long names, yeah.
access denied. Oh, I messed up the firewall. We knew this. We knew that the firewall would be wrong. Yeah, I remember. When we talked about that, looked bad. it really looked bad. Service binding, database. So that's not this thing. Let me have a look at my documentation because it's supposed to be Spring at your database name, with your database name being the name of the database that we set up earlier, which is Spring Cloud name MySQL. I'm not even sure we did that. Hang on. Let me open this in another tab just to be sure of the name of my database. Maybe we copy-pasted something wrong. So we're going to have a look. Come on, Azure. We're going to have a look at our database in the resource group. So we call it Spring Cloud Workshop. And here is our database. Yeah, Spring j'ai du boîtier MP MySQL. Spring j'ai du boîtier. Hang on. I did something. I know I said something bad. What failed was it didn't have access to the database. I think the IP couldn't go through. Hang on. We opened up the firewall. Did we?
We did, yeah.
I remember doing it, but it looks like it's not open. Yeah, no, it's supposed to be open. Allow access to other services. Yes. Things open. Okay. And if I go here to my to-do service binding, to-do database. Oh, sorry. Oh, come on. Session expired. It's really the good time to have an expired session. So to-do database, edit it. I would say that this was correct. Did I change anything? It's the same thing. Haha, we have a bug. Okay, as time is running super fast, my proposal is that we remove the database. And so we just deploy something empty, but at least it works because the goal is to show Azure Spring Cloud and not show database. And that database just sucks. Is that fine with everyone?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just respond with a string or an array of something. And, we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Because at some point we need to act, otherwise nothing will work. So let me delete this, cancel.
Yeah, and while Julian is doing that, I just wanted to kind of one of the things that we wanted to show here was just the fact that you can easily integrate a database into Azure Spring Cloud applications by connecting them, right? So you enable that connection within Azure Spring Cloud, which is typically easily done. But when you do that, there are a couple gotchas as we've hit here, and that you have to be very aware of the specific string that you have for the account, the user account, and then the password. And computers being so literal, if you're off by one, you're off by one. So typically what happens is we're just using that application to store and retrieve some data to the database. But again, if you follow the learn module, you can and after the fact, you can see all that working. The important thing here that we want to cover, though, the kind of critical piece is the inter-app communication or inter-service communication, because that's really what Spring Cloud and Azure Spring Cloud bring to the mix. Anybody can, given sufficient time to troubleshoot, connect a database, but it gets to have the platform handle making those connections for you amongst and between a number of different instances of a number of different microservices. That's where the magic happens. So that's what we want to focus on now. And then by all means, follow up later if you have any issues with that yourself. As you see, it's easy to get wrong in a very small way, which then means your database is, and you want it to be secured against bad passwords and whatnot. So
yeah, it's I don't know what I messed up. Either the firewall wasn't correctly configured, or what I guess is that my database name isn't correct. Again, so it changed with the new flexible server. And that was the older configuration. I don't remember how it was working, but I don't know. I didn't put the correct database username or password, one or the other. And well, again, that's not what we want to show today, so not very important.
But it does. It has been confirmed to work. I mean, we've done this multiple times.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
a matter of you slip one
Yeah.
little thing, and of course, it doesn't take long to fix it. But when you're doing a very time boxed recording, or not recording, but video session, it seems like forever. So we want to make sure we cover the important things and leave the less important things to cover at a later time.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, connecting to the database isn't the issue. So this is deploying. We've got 10 minutes left.
Piece of cake. We've got this.
Let's let it deploy and have a look at the rest. Maybe we'll just talk a little bit about the rest. Not sure we've got the
Sure.
time for everything, because we've got one module on distributed tracing. So, well, if you want to, well, have a look at your cluster. Oh, it deployed. See, yeah, database issue, not as a Spring Cloud issue. Let me just go to distributed tracing here. If we go to hang on, where is that? Oh, I'm in the database here. No database. You are bad database. I'm not going to use you at all. I hate you. This is my cluster. And if we go to application insights, so which is enabled by default, here we've got a lot of things that we can have a look at on our cluster. We've got live metrics. You can live debug your application in production. That's super good. And we've got the application map. So here we're showing the application map because so live metrics works everywhere on Azure. So that's super good because you have a live view of your application running, which is crazy, but it works everywhere. So it's not specific to Azure Spring Cloud. So, we want to point this module on the application map because that's a bit specific to Azure Spring Cloud. This is having a look at all my calls. So you remember I did a curl request to the gateway. There was one first one which gave me a 404. That's why it got 2 calls here. And then another call to the to-do service, which failed because it wasn't there. And as we can see, it showed both automatically. It created a map of both of them. It saw the number of calls. It's not perfect because, again, it failed a bit. But you can already see that this is going to create automatically a map of all my resources. So it's going to be very easy for me to drill down and see what are my requests, why is that slow, why is that failing. So that's super important. And as time is running, last one is scaling the Spring Boot microservices. Let me go to scaling here. And then we'll check if everything works. Because I know that's what you want to see. Just to scale. So one of the questions was automatic scaling. There's lots of options for that. I'm just going to show quickly here 2 menus on scaling. There's here to scale up our application so we can give it more CPU or more RAM. I'm not going to do that because that will restart everything. And I don't want to have a bad experience. And second thing is scale out. So here we can say, okay, I want 500 instances of my app. Might not be a good idea for my money. This is manual, and then there's auto scaling. So here you're going to say, okay, if we have high CPUs, then I want more requests, and so on. So that's how you scale everything. It's all done for you. No Kubernetes stuff. I mean, it's Kubernetes under the hood, but you don't see anything. Just all working. Now let's have a look. Is that working or not? So I did a curl request to use it. So that one. Is that saying hello, oh yeah, that one is working. So what is happening here? So here I'm talking to the gateway, as you can see. So this is the gateway. And to the gateway, I tell the gateway, have a look at this service. We didn't tell that service anywhere. So if I go back here to my gateway, so the gateway is connected to a Eureka server. So inside the Eureka server, it's finding all the other microservices, and it's finding the other one, which is like a to-do service. And this one is secure, so you cannot access it normally. You see, there's no public URL. There's a test URL if you want to, but there's no public one. And automatically, what Azure Spring Cloud does is it creates a new route with the name of that service in capital letters. That's the way Spring Cloud Gateway works. And so when I ask the gateway, please give me, what's that to-do service is giving back to me? Is giving back to me, what the microservices sends back by default, which is hello, which is what I've written here where I was coding very fast. I say now, when you ask the root, you're going to have hello by default. So So we can see that our gateway connects to the microservice using Eureka, and like everything works. Maybe we can have a quick look again now at application settings. Sorry, application insights. At our application map, it should have updated. Yeah, it did took a lot. Yeah, not that pretty. But you can see we connected to it. Yeah, we don't have enough.
But the important thing is, I mean, you see how nice that is with just 2 services. What if you have hundreds of services and hundreds of instances of those services? You can really get some great insights, if you pardon the expression, into your distributed system. So that's the thing that I think most of us look at Azure Spring Cloud as being kind of the gift that really gives a lot. One, it gives you a lot of power to take your apps to production as fast and as simply as possible.
Hey,
Two, the
look at
platform.
this. I've
Yeah.
got automatic monitoring of my request live,
Oh,
on my
perfect. Yeah.
on my Java apps. I'm just doing my request. I didn't configure anything. That's like super hard to do otherwise. You need to have a Java agent. There's a Java agent here, but I mean, I don't even know there's one. I mean, I know because I worked on the service, but normal people don't even know there's a Java agent here, automatically analyzing your app. It's very easy to do. And as we've got like 5 minutes, maybe we can
save a little time for the summary, but
yeah. Hang on, I just wanted to do the scaling because that's the one thing. I went fast on it, and now I'm a bit sad. I should have. I was so afraid it didn't work. Let's give it, I don't know, like 2 CPU, and let's scale out also, and let's give it, I don't know.
And while that's doing that, because we're being reminded that it actually does a hard stop right at
okay.
at
I'm
30
stopping
minutes
it.
after.
It's working, believe me.
So we'll come back to this, but I do want to go to the summary really quickly so we can make sure we cover the points. So what we've done today, and what you hopefully done or will be able to do in your copious spare time, is create a new Azure Spring Cloud cluster, which is very simply done with a couple of commands or via the portal. We've configured a Spring Cloud config server to externalize our configuration settings and properties. We've built and deployed a Spring Boot microservice, which is our to-do service. And then we created a Spring Cloud Gateway application to access the microservice and to control that access to handle things like quality of service and things of that nature and security. We also use Spring Cloud Service Registry to discover the microservice, which is largely seamless. It kind of operates and works behind the scenes on your behalf in a way that just takes a lot of that headache off of your hands as well.
If you don't have Spring Cloud Service, you will see how hard this is.
Yes. Anybody who's tried to do that wiring themselves, they look for stuff like this because it is a huge, I guess you'd say, force multiplier for you.
You need to secure it. You need to cluster it because you need at least 2 instances if one fails. Have fun doing that by yourself.
Oh,
nothing.
We've talked about and shown distributed tracing to debug the microservices architecture. We've seen the graphical output of that to see how the requests and responses transit the system, the distributed applications. There is so much more to learn. I think we only had a couple of bad jokes in there, but everything else is pretty much here, plus some. So if you want to scan the QR code, if you want to go to the URL listed above, check that out. If there's more stuff that you think of that you didn't get a chance to ask, by all means, again, go here or just ping us on Twitter and we can point you here or answer anything else. We have another session coming up. So if you're so inclined, not we personally, but our team does, if you want to know more about deploying Jakarta EE applications to Azure, check that out. And with that, Julien, anything to wrap up on?
No, I'm just so super happy to have been able to show everything which was important because the database honestly wasn't important. If you do if you follow the module and have the same database issue, please ping me. Maybe there's something wrong. And anyway, we're going to migrate this to MySQL Flexible, which is another great service. So happy to have been able to show everything to you, and that maybe not that happy about the jokes. We didn't have time to do jokes because of the bugs, but
we'll work on those
next time. We will do some jokes.
Thank you everyone for coming and for sharing your time with us, and we'll see you on the interwebs.
Bye everyone.
Bye all.